This story happened a few years ago when I went on a trip with my friends to a small hill station. It was the first time we were all going on a vacation together after college. We had booked a small resort that was quite far from the city, surrounded by mountains and dense forests with several hiking trails to explore. There were 5 of us: me, my best friend Arun, and 3 other friends, Sonia, Mohan and Ria. We were all excited, thinking this would be a fun getaway. None of us had been to this place before, and we didn't know much about it, but we were eager to explore. When we arrived at the resort, the fresh, chilly air made us feel alive. The resort was quite old and was located on the edge of a dense forest. The view of the forest was beautiful, but there was something about it that felt eerie. That evening we all sat together, sipping tea, and decided to take a walk around the area. As we wandered, we came across an old building that appeared to be a mansion. It looked like it had been abandoned for years, and the windows were foggy and covered with dust. The atmosphere around the mansion was quiet, almost too quiet, and there was a strange chill in the air. We were all intrigued, but at the same time something about the place felt off. Despite our hesitation, we decided to get closer. As we approached, the fog became thicker, and it felt like the mansion was almost alive in some way. We all stood outside for a moment, looking at the decaying structure. Suddenly we heard a faint noise. It sounded like a weak cough or a low groan. "Did you hear that?" Before anyone could respond, the sound came again, but louder this time. It seemed like it was coming from inside the mansion. We froze, unsure of what to do. The air grew heavier, and the chill intensified. Then, as if on cue, we saw a shadow moving inside the building. It was hard to tell what it was, but it looked like someone was walking around. "Hello?" There was no response. The shadow just disappeared into the darkness, leaving us even more confused. We thought maybe we were imagining things, but none of us could shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Hesitantly, we walked back to the resort, but I couldn't stop thinking about what we had just seen. The next day, we decided to go for a hike in the forest. The weather was clear, but the previous night's strange events were still on my mind. We hiked for hours, but as we ventured deeper into the forest, something felt odd. It was unusually quiet. No birds, no sounds of wildlife, just a heavy silence. We continued on, not wanting to ruin the mood, but I couldn't shake the sense that we weren't alone. That's when I heard it again, a faint sound, like someone walking behind me. I stopped in my tracks, and so did everyone else. We all listened, and sure enough, there was a faint echo of footsteps. It seemed to match our own, walking at the same pace. I turned around to check, but there was no one behind us. "Did you hear that?" "Yeah, but there's no one here." We all paused, but the sound continued, almost as if someone was walking right behind us. We called out, but no one responded. After a few moments of tension, we decided to keep moving, but every time I stopped to listen, the footsteps would stop too. It was as if something or someone was mimicking our every move. It was getting late, and we decided to head back to the resort. The fog began to roll in again, and the familiar, eerie feeling returned. I kept glancing over my shoulder, but I couldn't see anything. Then, just as I thought it was all in my head, I heard the sound again, this time closer. Suddenly, I felt an overwhelming sense of dread, and my heart began to race. I broke into a run, and the others followed. We sprinted through the fog, not daring to look back, but when I did glance behind me, I saw something. A shadowy figure standing motionless in the fog, just far enough away to be barely visible. I ran faster, my breath short and labored. The figure seemed to be getting closer, but no matter how fast I ran, it stayed the same distance behind me. My heart pounded in my chest. I could feel it following me, just hovering in the fog, but no matter what, it didn't seem to get any closer. It was as if it was floating. We eventually made it back to the resort, all of us out of breath and shaken. I slammed the door behind me and looked out the window one last time. The figure was still there, just standing at the edge of the forest, watching us. I was terrified, but I didn't want to scare my friends too much. When they asked what happened, I just told them I thought I saw something in the fog, but I didn't mention the figure. That night, we stayed up talking, trying to shake off the strange experience, but the next morning, when we checked out and left the area, I couldn't stop thinking about the figure I had seen. No one else seemed to be as disturbed by it as I was. But for me, it was a chilling reminder that sometimes there are things in the world that we can't explain. I still don't know what that figure was or why it followed me. I don't know if it was just my imagination or something more sinister. But I do know one thing. That place had a strange, unsettling presence, and I'll never forget the way the fog seemed to conceal things that shouldn't have been there.